lay down, come into another shape, or also be in a seated shape. Okay. So we'll all take a moment to get ourselves comfortable. Okay, so welcome. I'm going to take a blanket just to prop my tailbone, and I'll start sitting in a cross-legged shape or Sukhasana. But again, you can sit however you'd like or lay down and be propped however you'd like. So take a moment or two, maybe you'll move around, maybe you'll twist, maybe you'll stretch with the arms, maybe it's moving the legs instead, whatever it may be, until you're ready to find stillness. Right? And then once you come into that stillness, you're welcome to close your eyes, or maybe you let the gaze just be soft. Again, that's your choice. But just taking a few breaths here to arrive. Taking a few breaths here, noticing the sounds of the breath, noticing the texture of the breath. And take a moment to lean into the stability of your stillness here. And can we notice the body? Within our practice, honoring or inviting this experience of renewal, whatever that might mean to you. But it's through the channel of renewing that we also get to find this relaxation, that we also get to feel this release. So breathing into the body, already beginning to soften and relax. Through the comforts and discomforts of yin, we get to feel this release. And it's within these moments that we start to notice the body and how it's receptive. So maybe even right now, notice how the body is responding. Notice how the body is adapting. The body is sharing and communicating, hey, I hear you, I see you. We'll begin to slow down, we'll begin to soften, we'll begin to relax into the nervous system, and so on and so forth. So for our practice this evening, you might really relate to that channeling of renewal, or instead it would be that word relax, or that word release, or that word receptive. Feel free to create any intentions that are most intriguing for you. Maybe a little bit of everything. Just taking that other moment just to hold on to that space. And as we begin to open up our class together, we'll find a few cleansing breaths. So letting your arms and hands relax, letting them lean on the floor, lean on the body, whatever's most comfortable. We'll find one cleansing breath here together. Deep breath in through the nose. And open the lips to exhale. Again, like that, deep breath in. And a deep breath out. This time you can keep your hands relaxed within the lap. They might come into a prayer shape in front of the heart, or maybe you have one hand resting on the belly, one hand resting at heart center, or somewhere else. But just finding this connective source, we'll find one final breath here. Taking a deep breath in through the nose. Open the lips to exhale. And take that moment to pause. Bowing the chin gently towards the chest, and just letting the breath reverberate off the walls of the body, allowing that warmth to seal our intentions for practice. So whenever you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes. You might bring the hands away, whatever that looks like for you. And we'll begin our practice laying down. So if you're already laying down, you can stay. If you're seated, then we'll gently make our way to come lay down. And our first pose is going to be dove. So laying down, you might find a pillow for the head. Knees will be bent, feet are flat to the floor. Right? And if the body's even creating this really deep arch all of a sudden or at that moment, you're more than welcome to pick up the hips a little bit, glide the tailbone underneath you. Okay. Now for the actual stretch, let's open out the left knee to the side. And this might be the best place for you to start in dove. The left knee is opening out to the side. Okay. Now, if that's a lot of sensation already, you want to have a little more support, you might take a block or a blanket or something and prop that left thigh. Okay, I have a few more suggestions. You're welcome to keep this left foot exactly where it is, or you'll walk your left foot underneath the triangle that your right leg is making. Okay, so then at that point, when you walk your foot underneath the thigh, your left knee might face a different direction. And just in case you need to see it from the opposite view, I will switch legs. My left foot walks underneath my right leg any amount. And by placing the foot in different directions, you'll be steering the stretch. Right? So notice, it's not completely comfortable. We're not finding pain. Somewhere in the middle. If you need to prop your right hip or tailbone, please do so. And then at that point, your hands might rest on your body, alongside the body, or they might stretch up above the head and you'll relax them there. Okay, and this might take a few breaths, so feel free to explore, adjust the body, adjust the props, and then you'll let yourself arrive into stillness. If it's comfortable, close the eyes. Beginning to settle in. Beginning to notice the sensations of this particular stretch for your body. There's no right or wrong. There's no better or worse. As we begin to relax into the shape, we'll allow the sensations to speak for themselves. So if this feels like a place that you can explore, offer the body some time and stillness. If it is not a safe space for you to explore, then I recommend finding a different variation or maybe supporting yourself a little differently. And through the language of our body and the choices that we make with our body, we begin to feel this intercommunication. Notice that receptivity of the body. Once you're ready, beginning to soften even more deeply. Relax the eyes if they're squinting. Unclench the teeth as you release into the jaw and the tongue. Softening through the sides of the neck as we relax the shoulders a little more and the chest a little more. Breathing in between the spaces of the ribs. Softening through the belly and torso. And as you wrap your awareness around the body, release into the muscles of the back, softening into the length of the spine. If you notice the muscles of the glutes clenching, let them relax so that we can soften to the thighs and the knees, releasing into the muscles of the calves and all the way down to the soles of the feet. Notice space between the toes. Notice that same space between the fingers as the palms and wrists soften. So let's spend a few more breaths here in Dove. Within this time, just focus in on the quiet, focus in on the body, on the sensations that you feel, the ways in which you can soften. If you'd like to stay a little longer, you're more than welcome to do so. But if you're choosing to release from Dove, then we'll begin to lower the arms back by the hips. Let your left hand help guide this left leg out from underneath you. You might hug it into the chest. We're just going to follow the body's natural movement. Maybe both knees hug into the chest. Maybe you rock side to side. Maybe the legs straighten up towards the ceiling if it feels good to roll into the ankles, and just let the legs dangle. And if the body needs some other natural movements, just take what comes up. And then we're going to find somewhere to hang out in stillness. We want to take that meditative pause. So if you stay on your back, maybe your legs go long. Maybe you roll to your side body. Maybe you end up in child's pose. And can we welcome ourselves into the space we call rebound, so that we can feel the subtle sensations, the fascial tissue contracting back, and feeling this imprint as it settles into the muscle and fascial and neural memory. Just pausing here, take a moment to observe. If you're in the middle of something, you're welcome to stay here a little longer. Now, before we release, or before we go into Dove really on the opposite side, we're actually going to come into banana first. Okay, so we just took Dove on the left side. We had the left leg open out. Okay, now we're going to let our legs straighten, our arms reach up above the head, and we're actually going to curve our banana to the right. Okay, For whatever reason, if you did start with dove on the right side, then you'll take your banana to the left side. Okay, so feel free. It's, like I said, no big deal. But essentially what we're going to do for banana, if you opened out that left knee for dove, now we're going to allow the legs to stay straight, and you're going to curve your lower body to the right side. You might walk your shoulders and torso over to the right as well to create this C, this curve, this banana type of shape. Maybe stretching in the outer left thigh or hip or shoulder. If the back of the head or left shoulder needs some support, please prop it with a pillow or blanket. Your hips are mostly on the floor, right? They're not going to be glued, but if you start to feel like you're twisting onto your right side, you're probably in the curve too much. So let the heels relax to the floor. If you'd like to, left ankle can cross over the right. Not necessary, but if that interests you or supports your experience, go for it. And if you ever feel like the stretch is pulling at the back too much in a way that's not helpful, feel free to bend one knee or both knees. But other than that, we are here in stillness, beginning to notice what sensations arrive. As you observe these sensations, allowing the fascia to express where it might be tense or knotted for your body. Can we support ourselves here by softening? Sometimes we might find this bickering of, oh, I don't feel it in my glute like I'm supposed to, or I don't feel it in my hip like I'm supposed to, but that's just some narrative that we're creating. You will feel it wherever your body needs to express. So all we can do to support, let's release into the body. Let's relax through the layers of muscle and relax through the layers of bone and joint and organ and tissue. Checking in with the presence of breath. Observing any shifts of sensation, whether it travels or hovers in one place. Notice how the rest of the body is receiving the stillness or the quiet. We'll be here in banana for a few more breaths. Of course, you can always come out sooner if the body is asking for that. And then whenever you're ready, let's slowly and mindfully begin to release. We can unravel the legs. We can unravel the arms. And again, you might lift up your hips. You could extend the spine as much as you'd like. Again, you might hug the knees into the chest or even windshield wiper the knees from side to side. Just notice what movements are calling you, right? Like in a lot of our standing practices and our bigger movement practices of yoga, where we flow from pose to pose and whatnot, all of that movement is to bring us to towards our internal body, right? And then here in Yin, we're using the stillness from the internal body to then awaken the movements here for rebound. So just do whatever is natural. There's no right, there's no wrong. It doesn't even have to be yoga. It could just be a natural movement. Okay, but once you feel completed from that, you'll let yourself find stillness. Each rebound is like a mini shavasana, where we pause for that moment to observe, but also for that moment to receive. Notice the subtle sensation. Notice that layer of heat or coolness cloaking the muscles within the body. Just pausing for yourself within the present moment here. If you'd like to stay in banana a little, or in rebound a little longer, you're more than welcome to stay in rebound. But if you'd like to awaken and move into dove, feel free. So if the arms want to stretch, if the knees want to bend, right, do what's best for you. But eventually knees will bend, feet will come flat to the floor. We're going to come into dove then on the right or the opposite side. So you might prop that hip. Maybe you take a blanket or pillow underneath your left hip or glute if helpful. Your right foot might walk under the left thigh this time, underneath that little triangle shape. And of course, no rush. Take your time to get there. Whether you rearrange the props or rearrange the body. We want to follow these internal cues, and then we'll gravitate back towards stillness. Noticing the sensations here, you can begin to soften whenever you're ready. Allowing ourselves to let go of any clenching or any gripping. Imagining that net or webbing, that fishing net that holds all of our muscles and bones and organs in one piece. This fishing net of our fascia helps the physical body stay together. But because of its presence, we have our lymphatic system and our endocrine system and our nervous system and our immune system and so on and so forth. The reclaimed space that we receive from the stretch improves all physical and energetic function. Being patient as we soften. Being patient with the mind as it might question. But can we honor and sit within the company of ourselves while we ride the edge of sensation? Breathing between that place of comfort and discomfort. So we'll spend a few more moments here in Dove. Expressing the breath. Allowing ourselves to release into the shape so that we can receive. And then within your own time, whenever you're ready, we'll slowly begin to awaken. Your hands might come down by the thighs as you slowly release that right knee. Maybe you're hugging that right leg into the chest. Maybe both legs hug in. If you rock side to side, if you windshield wiper the knees. Or maybe you take no movement and you just settle into rebound. That's always another option. Just mindfully arriving, slowly arriving, so that the fascia, the elastic of the tissue, can contract back slowly. And Within your meditative pause, we'll take that moment to observe. Noticing this energetic reset or this physical reset. If you'd like to stay here a little longer, you're more than welcome to do so. If you're ready for the opposite side of banana, then we might awaken, right? If you take a few little movements, whether it's for the wrists, the ankles, whatever it might be, until we're ready to transition. So as the legs go long, we'll begin to curve the lower body to the left, and then the upper body curves to the left as well. Now you can always lift your arms up and above the head. Maybe they'll be more out to a T shape. Maybe they'll just rest by the hips. One arm might be higher than the other, and that's okay too. But from there, propping the head or the right shoulder, heels relax to the mat, or maybe the right ankle crosses over the left. And if you're content within the shape, but you just need a little less, especially if your back is talking to you, you might bend one knee in, foot comes flat to the floor, or bend both knees. Your upper body can still create that curve of banana. So letting yourself adjust, move around the props until you feel supported enough so that you can close your eyes and settle into stillness. And if you haven't softened into the shape, begin to do so. Letting go of unnecessary tension or unnecessary control. Within this idea or space of renewal, we allow ourselves to have the opportunity to live to our utmost potential. This idea of renewal will then give us another, whether you want to think of it as a second chance or just another step forward. And it's kind of like what we're doing in our stretching. If the fascia is knotted, tangled, chronically tight, it's not really living up to its potential of how it's supposed to be used and functioning within the body. So through the stretch, we give it a sense of renewal. One step forward for the fascia to enhance the overall body. Staying present with the breath. Continue to witness the body's experience. You might be in thought, and that's okay. It's encouraging if it's helping you move forward, right, within that space of renewal. If the thought feels like clenched, tightened tissue, maybe we can even soften into the thought. Breathe towards that thought as it also releases. With that in mind, you might be wanting to stay here longer, and you can. But if you're ready to release, let's begin to do so. Unraveling the legs from banana, slowly transitioning the arms. You might wrap the arms around the chest and just contract the shoulders in a different direction if that feels good. You might be lengthening the legs, bending into the knees. Again, no right or wrong. But from there, we'll begin to find stillness. Can we take that meditative moment for ourselves to observe? When we reflect, we allow ourselves to think about and remember past. When we set goals and dreams and aspirations, we're letting ourselves think and imagine the future. Not as often do we stop and pause after an experience to hold on to that present. So if rebound seems challenging, just take a few breaths and stop and smell the roses. Just observe. Can we cradle that present moment and observation in the same way the body cradles us? So with this in mind, you're welcome to stay exactly where you are, or we'll start to awaken. You might find a movement or two so that we can bend into the knees, roll to one side of the body as we guide ourselves up to sit. Okay, and then let me slow down. As we come to sit, since we haven't sat in a while, if the body wants to take a twist, if the body wants to stretch, even move through cat-cow or something, just honor whatever movement it is. And then from there, I'll just ask for some extra patience so that I can explain a few different variations of the next part of the sequence. Okay, so for this next sequence, we're going to come into two poses back to back. So we won't rebound until after the second pose. But I have two options for how to do this. Okay, so option one, we're going to come to sit. Option one is to take the forward fold. So you might find a pillow or blanket, prop the tailbone. We'll keep the right leg straight, and as we hug the left knee in, you'll wrap it around the thigh. So you can see my ankle is relaxed here for half shoelace. You might find blocks, you might find pillows, you might stack some things to support your fold, or maybe you just wrap the pillow and blanket around you and just sit up tall. Okay, I have a lot to say though, so because there's many options, so just bear with me. Half shoelace is option one. Option two there for this part is you might take half square instead if that's better for your hips. Of course, if you want to take full shoelace and bend into both knees, you can. Okay, so any one of those options, and again, find props however you want to use them, or you might sit up tall. Okay, this is the first shape. From there, like I said, we're coming into a second stretch. So we'll unravel that left thigh, opening out that right leg for dragonfly. Left knee just bends in. And then again, we'll find some props to fold. We might wrap things around us. Okay. I'll explain a little bit more once we get there for dragonfly, but just so you know, the sequence is that half shoelace shape. And then once this left leg unravels, we're going to fold. Okay. If that's what you're going to do, feel free to set yourself up for sitting and find your shoelace, half square, full shoelace, whatever you want to do. If you have a wall though nearby, essentially you can do the same thing if you'd rather lay down. So your legs will come up. If you want to prop your tailbone or prop your head, you can. Left leg wraps around the right. Maybe you bend both knees and take full shoelace. Same idea. Once we unravel, you'll take half dragonfly at the wall. And maybe you prop your thighs with a block or something. Okay. So now I'm done with the show. Feel free to find any shape. Thank you very much. Whether you're sitting or coming to lay back down. Right? And again, use any props in any way. If it feels supportive, then it's right. So no need to question. But we're going to start with the shoelace left leg wrapping around the right. If you have a question, let me know. As that left leg wraps around the right, maybe you're going to bend both knees and take full shoelace. That's okay too. Okay, so with these options, you might start in one variation and maneuver into another variation. Not forcing yourself into the deepest stretch the quickest. As we ride our edge, essentially we're coming into that first wave of resistance. And that's where we want to pause. That's where we want to breathe and soften into. Greeting the body in this sincere fashion. Letting go of any clenching or gripping. Observing your stretch. And whether you feel multiple sensations, or maybe just one. Let's take a few more breaths exactly where we are. And then if you'd like to stay in shoelace, you're more than welcome to. But if you're interested in transitioning, then let's begin to press down into the props or into the floor. Taking your time, slowly lifting up through the head and chest. You might unravel your legs in a few ways until you bring that left foot to the inner thigh, right leg opens out to the side for that half dragonfly shape. If you took the wall option, you're doing the same thing at the wall. And without thinking too much, you'll find some props. And again, you'll stack things, you'll fold things, whether you're rounding the spine or just sitting tall within the spine, leaning maybe. You'll now stretch into half dragonfly. Notice what it feels like to go from 2 stretches back to back. Maybe you feel some subtle sensations within the experience of shoelace and how they start to blend and mingle with what we feel here in half dragonfly. Again, you'll find this softening. Breathing into the body as a whole. As we create this current of conversation. Within our half dragonfly, maybe you'll take another full cleansing breath, or 2 breaths, 3 breaths. And then whenever you're ready, we'll gently begin to press down into the floor or into the props, taking your time as you lift up from the head and chest. And you might even pause there before you even move. Just taking a moment to feel, taking a moment to transition. And then notice where the body takes you. Does the body take you to lay back down? Does the body take you forward? Maybe you arrive in tabletop. Again, if cat-cow seems interesting, a few movements to the hips, maybe you decide to rebound in child's pose. Or like I said, maybe your body just floats to the ground and you're on your back, hugging the knees into the chest. Whatever it might be. Facing any direction in your room, facing any angle along the floor. Allowing that awakened inner experience to guide these carefree movements. Being guided by that energetic release of the fascia, the body will guide you in where it needs to be. What will feel supportive and comfortable here. Even in your rebound, allow the body to relax and soften. Maybe noticing that hum, that buzz, or that pulse within the overall body. And if you'd like to stay here in your rebound, please do, no rush. But if you're interested in coming into the opposite side of this, you'll gently begin to awaken. And sometimes after awakening from rebound, the body will crave again another movement, so you'll welcome that. And whether you come to sit or if you're going back to the wall, please adjust. And then we'll talk about shoelace on the opposite side. So you know where we're going, so I won't explain it all. But again, just to review the options, right leg will wrap around the left, you'll fold. If a figure 4 shape is helpful for the body, you'll take that. But if it interests you to fold into full shoelace, bending into both knees, allowing the feet to sit outside of the hips, you'll do that as well. Prop to the tailbone might be helpful to the pelvis, whether you're sitting or laying down. You're welcome to fold and round into the spine. You're also welcome to sit tall and not round. So just do what's best for your body in terms of the neck, in terms of the spine, in terms of the hips. Some days when I come into shoelace, I'll want to round, and other days I'm like, there's no way. Right? What are you feeling in the outer hips, what you're feeling in the inner hips, what you're feeling in the glutes. The point of our practice here, though, is not to compare what we've done last time and think that it needs to be fulfilled this time. What matters and what weighs more is the way in that or in which we listen. Honoring that the edges, those layers of comfort and discomfort, will be different day by day. We get good at yin not by fulfilling this external shape. We get good by yin, by practicing yin when we listen and when we soften. And when we make that decision that truly benefits the body. Knowing that this shape will help stretch the fascia, lengthen, uncoil the tissues that may be dehydrated or knotted, tangled. I'm sitting with the breath here for a few more moments. If you'd like to stay in shoelace here a little longer, you're more than welcome to. But if you're choosing to transition, let's slowly begin to unravel. Begin to lift up through the head and chest, unravel one leg at a time. Transitioning now so that the left leg can straighten out into half dragonfly. And then again, you'll find your props, whatever those might be. And again, if you're at the wall, then the left leg is just leaning out towards that half V shape. No rush. Maybe noticing a sudden breath or a deeper breath, telling you that the nervous system is receptive to what we're doing. The nerves living within the fascia are just as sensitive as our skin. The nerves being stimulated here, which allows us to feel the stretch or any type of sensation to begin with. Sometimes when you think about, like a mad scientist, or it doesn't have to be mad, but just any type of scientist and experiments where you're taking two electrical wires and you put them together and then there's light bulb, or there's this great experiment, there's this explosion, there's this connection. But let your imagination explore. But that idea of bringing two different electrical currents together, right? How it might be exhilarating, exciting. We're rewiring the electrical current within our body. The body is literally creating its experience of renewal just by us holding stillness. A few more breaths here. If you'd like to stay a little longer, you're more than welcome to do so. If you're choosing to release, then we'll gently begin to press down, taking our time as we lift through the head and chest. And again, you might stay seated and stretch with the arms or come through a seated twist. Again, the body might guide you to lay down. The body might guide you to come forward. There's no right or wrong. So just letting yourself take those natural movements. If you're not sure what to do, feel free to do what you've done previously. But there's something calming and freeing when we can be in that space and just allow the body to guide us through movement rather than it being dictated movement. Can we do what feels natural, what feels comfortable, what's calming? And settling into rebound from there. The echoes of the fascia. You feel those subtle sensations. The reverberations of the movement in the tissue. In the same way a guitar string, violin, cello string, in the same way is plucked and there's a vibration to it. Imagining our fascia in a similar way. So softening here as we absorb 2 stretches. And feeling their imprint dance within the body. If you'd like to stay in rebound a little longer, you're more than welcome to do so. If you're choosing to awaken, let's slowly and calmly bring ourselves back to a seated shape. No rush at all. Take your time as you get there. Any movements along the way as we allow ourselves to now come into toe stretch. So our toe stretch here, we might walk into tabletop. If you want a little extra blanket for underneath the knees, you can. But as you bring the knees close and the toes start to tuck against the floor, you might already begin to feel something. Now, you might use blocks, you might use pillows. Your forearms can come down as you lean back into the heels. However, if you'd like more stretch, or if this is better for you, you'll sit on the heels entirely. This usually will be a lot deeper. Okay. Hands might stay on the lap, hands might hang off the body. But your choice, again, your hands might need to come down to support you. Okay, so our toes are tucked, we'll sit back on the heels. We're not here as long as the other stretches, but it is important for us to take time as we find a release for all the fascia that's webbed within the soles and toes of our feet. There's no exact starting point of our fascial tissue, but it is interlaced and interconnected from head to toe. It is within this woven system. Can we soften into our toe stretch just as we've done previously? And can we send the breath towards our lower feet and ankles and knees? Once more, relaxing behind the eyes, softening through the jaw. As we allow the upper body to soften, we might even feel more of a release in the lower body, rather than clenching onto ourselves. Another moment of breath. And then very slowly, take your time as we begin to hinge forward. Palms can catch you as you slowly untuck one foot. Bring that knee underneath the hip. You can untuck the other foot. Bring that knee underneath the hip. Your feet might just want to be still. However, if you want to drum the tops of the feet, that could feel good. If you want to shake the feet, that could feel good. Rolling through the ankles, wiggling through the toes. Okay, and again, if you want to sway the feet side to side or have a little more movement to yourself, you're more than welcome to. But we'll come into one more thing before we close our practice. So if you want to straighten the legs behind you one at a time, you can, just so that we can take ankle stretch. So options for ankle stretch, you might really sit more in like a Virasana or hero's pose with blocks or whatever you'd like to use in between the ankles as you sit propped on however high you need, that height that you need for the hips and knees, go for it, right? If that's not calling towards you, you'll bring the knees and heels together. You'll start to sit back on the heels. That might already give you enough stretch. If it doesn't, you're welcome to pick up the knees and take, blankets or pillows or something, and feel free to stack them underneath the shins. It just depends on if your ankles are opening or closing inward. You're welcome to do what's natural or do the opposite so that you can stretch into other layers of fascia. And I'm laughing only because it's usually intense when we guide ourselves into what we naturally don't do. So feel free to explore. If you need a prop in between your glutes and heels, that's okay too. And then same idea, let the hands relax. Chin can be neutral, or you might lower the chin a bit. And we'll soften here, beginning to observe. Finding your breath to help stay present. Staying connected and aware. Let's just take one more moment of breath to ourselves. And then whenever you're ready, we'll begin to release from ankle stretch. Okay, so we'll start to hinge forward. Hands can come down. You'll move any props out of the way. Right? And again, you'll take your final last movement. So if it's to drum the tops of the feet, to move through the hips, straighten the legs. And then as we come to sit, we'll support ourselves, not only just rebounding for our feet, but just taking our final pose of Shavasana. You might take a pillow underneath the head. You might find a bolster or something to prop underneath the knees. You might take another blanket to cover the body. Instead of laying on your back, if you'd rather lay on your belly or lay on your side body, feel free to do that as well. Allowing yourselves to become comfortable here. Gravitating towards stillness. And then we'll begin to absorb our practice, reflecting within the space of renewal as we welcome ourselves to Shavasana. very gently. Let's begin to deepen our breath. Noticing the placement of the hands and feet as we begin to roll through the wrists and ankles. If you'd like to stretch the arms up and above the head or wrap the arms around the chest, feel free to do so. But as you welcome any other gentle movement to awaken, eventually the knees will bend in, feet will come flat to the floor, and we'll let ourselves roll to one side of the body. Resting here as you feel the release of the back and a breath of fresh air along the spine. You can end your practice exactly where you are, or we'll gently press down into the floor and walk ourselves back up to sit. Again, taking your time, moving mindfully. We'll then settle our bodies into stillness, just taking a moment of reflection. Noticing the reclaimed space within the body, noticing the expansion of breath, noticing any clarity within the heart or mind. As our awareness observes this feeling of renewal or release or relaxation, receptivity of the body as a whole. Closing our practice with one cleansing breath. Hands can stay relaxed in the lap. Hands might be placed on the body gently, or hands can come into prayer. But together here, we'll take a deep breath in through the nose. Open the lips to exhale. And as we gently bow our chin to the chest, thank you for practicing with me this evening, being elevated through yoga. Namaste.